Welcome back to the show. I'm Pat Ford filling in for David Pakman today. George Santos just can't seem to stay out of trouble, can he? He just got out of prison. Not because he served his full sentence, but because Donald Trump decided to commute his sentence early because George Santos is a fan of Trump, and that is all it takes to get your sentence commuted these days. Donald Trump let him out of prison early, and George Santos apparently didn't learn the lesson that going to prison is bad and a place you don't want to go to, but instead he learned the lesson that you can do whatever you want if you're a Trump ally and get away with it because the president is going to have your back and find a way to let you out of prison. And so that made it so that he felt more emboldened to commit crimes, allegedly, we should say, because he's still under investigation here. I saw earlier there was a charge related to this case, but now I'm seeing just an investigation at this moment. And for what? For using Kalshi to line his own pockets, to place bets in these prediction markets that he was privy to, that he could affect the outcome of, and make a bunch of money for himself. So Santos, we know, of course, his background. He was expelled from Congress after it became clear he was a total fraud because he got elected on all these lies about his education and work history. Then later on, it became clear that he also seemed to have been committing a bunch of crimes, and there were things to investigate him criminally over, and that led to his ouster from Congress. He eventually got a 7-year federal prison sentence for wire fraud, money laundering, and stealing from his own political donors, but he only served 4 months of that sentence because Trump let him out early. So 4 months after being released from prison back in February, George Santos took to social media right before Donald Trump's State of the Union address, and he posted a video to X. Santos said that he was going to be going to the State of the Union address that night, that he would be at the speech attending from the gallery. And so what happens? There was a prediction market on this very thing. Would George Santos go to the State of the Union address? Because that's something that you can bet on this day and age. And at that exact moment when George Santos made the announcement, traders on the platform put in a bunch of money, millions of dollars, and the odds that he would go to the State of the Union, of course, skyrocketed. And then ultimately, Santos never showed up to the State of the Union. He instead posted a message on X while Trump was speaking for the event, claiming that he was stuck watching the speech from an airport television, which caused the Kalshi market odds to plummet. And what he hid from the public at the time was that he actually put in place secretive bets, massive bets on Kalshi, allegedly at this moment. This is what they're investigating. And he was wagering that he would not appear at the speech, meaning that he was deliberately misleading the public to manipulate the market, and he walked away with tens of thousands of dollars in profit from the deception. I gotta say, is it really worth it? Tens of thousands of dollars when you're running this clear risk? Like, it's obvious everything that you're doing. Everything is time stamped. All these moves that you're making, when you decide to make these announcements, when do you decide to make the sales and place the bets. Like, you can't get away with doing something when everything is tracked like this. And is it worth it for tens of thousands of dollars when you can get hit with charges? I suppose if you're George Santos and you figure that Trump will just give you another get out of jail free card, maybe it could be for him. Kalshi quickly detected the suspicious trading activity and froze Santos's account and referred the case to the Commodity Future Trading Commission and the Department of Justice. And I gotta say, this Santos guy, he's a criminal, sure, but he is no criminal mastermind. All of the crimes that he commits, and with this one, of course, still being allegedly, of course, none of these things are sophisticated. They're really not intelligent. Like I said, with the Kalshi thing, you can track it so easily. And all of his other crimes he's committed before, they were just dumb things like that you can easily catch someone on. Like when he was a teenager in Brazil, he stole a checkbook from his mom's boss and used $1,300 to buy clothes. Of course, he was caught when it came to that. He also stole money from his own donors because he had all the bank account information from all the people who were giving money to him. And then he also claimed $24,000 in COVID-19 unemployment benefits at a time when he was working for an investment firm and making $120,000 a year. All these things are tracked and easy to solve. So George Santos is no criminal mastermind, and he's going to keep doing this stuff. I mean, it's really obvious. Even if he goes to prison for a long time, it's going to be a lot before he's reformed and not doing this type of scam anymore. How do I know? Because 4 months wasn't enough for him. Of course, 4 months is far short of the 7-year sentence that he got, but 4 months for a lot of people would be enough to scare them straight, at least for a while, right? At least for a few years. But what we saw from George Santos is he just waited another few months and then he was ready to allegedly commit crimes again. So you can't write this stuff. The saga continues with George Santos. And one more thing I wanted to mention having to do with this George Santos thing, I've noticed that he's starting to get welcomed in a little bit more in polite society, as if he's doing some sort of like rehabilitation tour. This is, of course, after all this latest news broke, but he would go on Piers Morgan, and of course he does his own podcast, and he's trying to do all these other media appearances and just be like another right-wing pundit. Should we allow that to happen as a people? Like, should someone be able to lie their way into a Senate seat, commit a complete fraud on the people he's supposed to represent in that district in New York, get caught, and face some accountability, sure, in the fact that he was kicked out of Congress, but then only getting a little accountability with the criminal stuff that he did, Trump letting him out of office, and now he gets to parlay that entire story into a media career where he can have the opportunity to make money. You know, it doesn't sit right with me. I don't think it's the type of thing that we should be rewarding, but that's just my opinion when it comes to it. And certainly with this case, I'll be interested in following it if we'll see charges come his way soon. That seems to be where things are headed. But who knows? Maybe Donald Trump will step in and say, you know, that George Santos guy, I like him. He's an even bigger liar than I am. And that gives him another get out of jail free card in my book, or something like that. We could see that happen. Donald Trump step in and shut down the investigation. I would not be surprised whatsoever if that took place. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of the David Pakman Show. Thank you all for watching today. Thank you for listening to me guest host and cover the stories I wanted to get to today. I should mention that if you like what I do, you should become a member, because we're going to be doing the bonus show here in a bit. And we have a lot of stories we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Melania Trump being named in this bombshell new Jeffrey Epstein allegation having to do with her allegedly being an escort to Jeffrey Epstein, and also an allegation having to do with how she met Donald Trump. We're also going to talk about Scott Pelley getting fired by CBS News for standing up for what he believes in, and what he believes in is basically the 60 Minutes staff being protected and the show as an institution being protected. So we're going to talk about those stories on today's bonus show. If you are thinking about becoming a member, there's an awesome opportunity coming up for you to do just that, because on June 9th, we're doing a one-day only membership drive. In order to get involved, you have to go to davidpakman.com/substack, sign up for the free newsletter, and on June 9th, you'll get an email with instructions for how to sign up for a discounted membership. So it's a one-day only thing that we're doing. You just got to get on the Substack before June 9th, and then on the 9th, you'll get that email. I'll see you over at the bonus show if and when you become a member, and it was a pleasure hosting today. David Pakman will be back tomorrow. I'm Pat Ford, filling in for David today. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Check out this other video. And if you like our content, make sure to subscribe so YouTube puts our videos in your feed, and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple.